Hi, I'm Spencer. I cook, create recipes, and I love spring because I love green garlic. And today we're going to be making Grand Aioli with green garlic in partnership with California Grown. And California Grown advocates for California farmers, farm workers, and California produce all across the world. So let's get started. Grand Aioli is a dish from France, and it's just a big bowl of aioli, of garlicky, tangy mayonnaise on a big platter of vegetables that are blanched, and some of them are raw and crunchy with proteins. And today we have eggs and shrimp, and it's just a great dish to eat when it's spring and the weather is nice and warm, or in the summer and you don't want to cook too much. It's a room temperature dish. It's great for picnics and eating outside and enjoying nature. Okay, so this dish uses green garlic, and some of you guys might not be familiar with what green garlic is. Green garlic is immature garlic. It is picked before the head or the bulb forms at the very end, and it looks and functions kind of like a green onion would. It looks kind of like a leek. There's a stalk right here, and that's the main part that we use, and then the leaves. It's usually harvested in late spring. It's April now in California. And so the green garlic is in full season. Eventually, this, and it's starting to head up, you can see, will turn to a large head of garlic, and it's picked in June, and then the heads are allowed to cure, and then we get head garlic as we know it. So green garlic is really a special ingredient. You can find it at farmers markets and specialty stores. You can actually grow it yourself. It's really easy. Actually, I grew a lot of this myself. I took cloves from seed garlic, organic garlic, and you put them in the ground around October. Just put them like just a clove straight down about an inch deep in the soil, and then they pop up, they grow, and then you can harvest the green garlic anytime at around like February onwards. And if you leave it in the soil, it will also head up to turn into garlic as well. So green garlic, it is very sweet and juicy. It has it is still very garlicky in flavor. It's not as kind of spicy and pungent, but it still has that nice garlicky savoriness, which is really delicious. So we are gonna make green garlic aioli. That's kind of the main star of this dish, and it just keeps it really simple. You can also use head garlic if you don't have the green garlic. To prep green garlic, we are essentially gonna use just this stalk portion here. We're gonna remove the roots. And then you wanna take off the leaves right kind of where they start to turn dark green. The tops can be used, you can saute them. They're a little tougher, kind of like leek tops, but they're really good kind of sauteed if you cut them up very finely. You can also chop them up and put them in other dishes. You can also use them as stock as well. So what we like to do is now you kind of have this clean green garlic, and I'm gonna slice it right down the middle. And then we are going to finely mince it before we pound this in a mortar and a pestle. Garlic is actually an only in California crop, meaning the Golden State grows 99% of the domestic product. And most of the garlic is grown, some of it is grown in Gilroy, but a lot of it's grown in the Central Valley near the San Joaquin Valley. California garlic is available year-round. That means the head garlic. But this green garlic is really a specialty spring item. So if you see it, you should definitely buy it and try it out. You essentially use green garlic in anywhere that you would use garlic, and maybe just use a little more of it because it's not as pungent and spicy as head garlic. You notice when I'm chopping this really fine that my left hand is just holding the tip of the knife down while my right hand kind of rocks the knife up and down. And it's easier to chop things in smaller pieces if it's kind of in a column. We're chopping this really fine so that it can break down easily when we pound it in the mortar and pestle. So this is the equivalent of like minced garlic. I'm gonna put a towel down. This is a mortar and pestle. It's used to kind of pound things and spices and garlic and other different things. If you don't have one, you can take the green garlic and really chop it as fine as you can, and you can put some salt in it and kind of mash it with your knife. That will help to break it down. So we have our chopped green garlic in here, putting just a pinch of salt, and the salt acts as an abrasive to break down the green garlic. So when you pound the green garlic, you're looking for it to get really like creamy and homogenized, so you don't see like individual pieces. That's what we do. I'm a cook at a restaurant called Chez Panisse in Berkeley, and we use a ton of green garlic in the spring, and it's something that is just so great, and we love using it in salad dressings and marinades and cooking vegetables with it and meat with it, grilling. It's fantastic. If you don't have green garlic or mortar and pestle, and you just want to use head garlic to make the aioli, you can use a microplane and just microplane a clove or two of garlic, and it's very similar, although not exactly the same. See how creamy this is? So that's about done. So now we're gonna make the aioli, and it starts with an egg yolk. So I'm gonna just crack the egg. 1 egg yolk. I do like a big pinch of salt, and I'm gonna do some lemon zest. We want just the outer yellow zest. We don't want any of the white pith. This is a microplane. It's a really great tool to have on hand. And we're gonna do some lemon juice. And you can make aioli in a mortar and pestle. You can use, but I'm guessing most people don't have that. You can use a whisk and a bowl, which is I'm gonna use that way. You could also make it in a food processor. You could make it in a blender. You can make it in so many different ways. Essentially, you're making an emulsion, which is a liquid that has a bunch of particles in it that's holding it together. And in our instance, it's the egg yolk. So you get it kind of homogenized like that. And then we are slowly gonna drip in this olive oil, drop by drop, while constantly whisking. You go slow at first to build the emulsion. It'll slowly thicken up, and then you can increase the speed with olive oil. So now that the emulsion is formed, you can go a little faster. And it starts to tighten up and get really thick. And it's kind of a balancing game. If it gets too thick, it can break. So you're gonna add a little liquid, so either lemon juice or water. It's about 1 egg yolk. We'll thicken about like 3/4 cup to a cup of olive oil. It's easily scaled up. That's the consistency you want. You want it pretty thick. You don't want it to be too runny. I'm gonna add a little pinch of salt. Whenever you add salt to an aioli, because it's so much fat, you really want it to sit for a while. It takes the salt a long time to dissolve because there's not too much liquid in there. It's mostly fat and oil. And now we're gonna add some of the pounded green garlic. Start with this. And now taste it, and now it's a balancing act between the lemon, the salt, and the garlic. You want it to be pretty assertive. You want it to be like pretty tangy from the lemon. You want it to be fairly well seasoned with the salt, and you want it to be like pretty punchy with the garlic. Not like extremely spicy or anything, but try it. It's pretty good. Okay, so this is the aioli portion. And now we just gotta prep all our vegetables. So for the aioli, the Grand Aioli, we have a number of different things. We have some carrots. This is Belgian endive. We have some snap peas and then snow peas from my garden. These are French breakfast radishes, asparagus. It's spring. They're very tasty right now. We also have some cucumbers. These is purple daikon, fennel. These are new potatoes. They're really delicious. They're from River Dog Farms. They're Sifra potatoes. I cooked these in heavily salted water with some herbs in there until they were done and tender. I poached some shrimp. I took off all the shells, I deveined them, and I poached them in water that was heavily seasoned, that had some bay and thyme and garlic in there. They don't take long to cook at all. I think it was like, probably like a minute. And then I just put them on a sheet tray to dry. And then these are eggs, if you didn't know. Hard boiled, I boiled them for about 8.5 minutes. We're gonna cook the asparagus, carrots, and the snap peas. So we'll start with the asparagus. To prep asparagus, all you gotta do, these are very large asparagus, by the way, but all you gotta do is kind of snap them like that, and you find its natural break point. There's like a woodier end and the tender part, so you do that. And then you peel the asparagus. What the peeling does is it's still a little less tender there, so it helps with that. But also this allows the salted water to enter the asparagus, and so it kind of seasons the asparagus. And we're blanching these vegetables, so it's gonna cook a short amount of time in boiling salted water. And so you wanna, because the vegetables are only gonna be in there a couple minutes, you actually want this water fairly highly seasoned. And I know it looks like a lot of salt, but not much of the salt actually enters the vegetable. To prep the peas, you basically kind of pull the strings like that, and like that. I grew this pea, it's huge. Our water is boiling, and I'm gonna drop these asparagus in. Before you drop any vegetables into blanch, make sure you have like a landing spot so you know where you're going. And for me, it's gonna be this sheet tray lined with parchment, and then I have a spider there to fish them all out of. So I'm gonna drop them in. These asparagus, they're pretty large, will take about a minute. I think normal size asparagus will take about 45 seconds. You can kind of check to see if they're done by just cutting off the bottom of one or just eating some. They're done. You want it to be tender and cooked through. You don't want them to be mushy. And we're not gonna go into ice or anything. I think that often like dilutes the flavor and kind of pulls out all the salt that we just put in there. So we're just let them cool on the sheet tray. Next in are these snap peas, same thing. I'm gonna prep these carrots. Peas, you want to have some crunch to them. Really good. Very good. Carrots, I'm gonna leave a little bit of their tops on because it looks nice. I'm gonna get rid of the peels on the top. Cutting carrots is kind of like a puzzle. So you're gonna look at each carrot, and ideally I want a carrot that's like that long. So this would be like in half. I'm gonna cut this top part in half, and I think for this one it's gonna be in half again, so quarters. This bottom one I think it's just gonna be in half. These I'm gonna do in thirds. This one's gonna do in half. You want them all around the same size so they cook the same. That's the idea. I'm gonna throw these in to the boiling water. When you put things into boiling water or oil, you actually want to get really close to it and drop it in. That way there's not a lot of splash. If you drop it in from here because you're scared about like getting splashed, it's gonna splash you. Those will take 2 to 3 minutes. Let's cut this endive. Endive is a chicory. Same family as like dandelions and castelfranco and radicchio. We're just gonna cut them into quarters. These radishes I'm gonna leave as is for the most part. I'm just gonna take the little root end off, but I think they're really pretty as is. Potatoes, really tasty. I'm just gonna cut these in half. Fennel, really tasty bulb. Originally from the Mediterranean. Just our leaf is just a little too tough, so I'm gonna remove that. I'm gonna cut the tops off, and then I'm just gonna cut the end. and then cut it in half and then in wedges, making sure to leave some of the core attached so the vegetable stays together. These could be blanched too, but I kind of like the crunchiness of raw fennel for today. Let's try a carrot. They're done. Perfectly tender. There's no crunch. Really delicious. So those are our blanched vegetables. Next we have purple daikon and cucumbers. Purple daikon is so delicious. These are from Riverdog Farm. Just gonna peel the outside, it's a little tough. And they're really, really tasty, crunchy, very pretty. I'm just gonna do slices. Maybe we'll cut these into half moons. These cucumbers, I'm gonna stripe, which means to peel, not all of it, but just to stripe it, you know? You want some of the peel, it gives nice texture, it's nice color, but we don't want all of the peel. And then I'm gonna cut these on a bias. So how I crack eggs is I start to tap, and then I kind of crack the eggs, and it just makes as many cracks as possible, which allows you to remove the shell in like, you know, 1 or 2 peels, and it makes it really nice. Obviously, I have a lot of stuff for this Grand Aioli, but you can totally change whatever ingredients you have. It can just be a couple vegetables. You can add some cooked, I think salt cod or cod is very traditional. You could probably do some roast chicken if you have some like a rotisserie chicken lying around. Okay, we have everything prepped. We have asparagus, carrots, and our snap peas. We have our purple daikon, cucumber, eggs. We have our potatoes, our French breakfast radishes, our fennel. We have our poached shrimp. And then to top it off, I have some blossoms from my backyard. I have some nasturtiums, and these are daikon and Chinese mustard flowers. So we are gonna put Le Grand Aioli together. Okay, so we have this large platter, which in hindsight is probably not large enough. We have this bowl that I'm gonna put our green garlic aioli in here. And now let's just start to arrange our vegetables. I think for me, in plating and stuff like that, I like to make it not too, I don't wanna make it look like I put it there too like deliberately. Like I don't want everything like in super kind of straight lines, and I like different colors. I put things together that are not often like the same color, like this orange next to the green. I like to use like odd numbers for things, and then just like kind of mix it up, you know? Now that we've kind of laid everything out around this big bowl of aioli, I'm gonna finish with some of these nasturtium petals, just because they're really colorful and beautiful. They're actually really spicy too. Not like really spicy, but they add like a nice kick. So here we have Le Grand Aioli with green garlic, featuring our California grown green garlic. It's just so great in season right now. It's so tasty and delicious. And then we're featuring all these beautiful California grown vegetables. Le Grand Aioli is just like a fun way to eat, and during the warmer months, it's great to have during a picnic, and you can change up the vegetables and the meats and eat it however you like. So I really encourage you guys to make this or a version of this. And if you like to see more of what we're doing and how we're cooking with produce, please like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And also tag us on Instagram @SpencerCooks. I would love to see what you guys are making. Thank you guys so much for being with us, and we'll see you later.